Hello everyone, welcome to another YouTube video. This is another history video, slightly different this one because I'm actually going to be showing you how to answer an AQA exam question. This is a 4-marker, and the 4-marker is explain 2 ways in which the Kaiser had problems running Germany before 1914. This is Germany paper question 4. So on a 4-mark question, what are we looking for? Well, 4 marks, so you're only going to be spending 3 to 6 minutes on it. Hope my handwriting is adequate on it. So 3 to 6 minutes on a 4-marker. Also, you're only going to need 1 paragraph. You could, arguably, you could split that into 2 because it's always going to be like explain 2. So you could, one for the first problem, one for the second problem. But generally, just write the 1 paragraph. And second of all, back of that, don't write loads. I've seen it where people write like a page for 4 markers. I've seen myself do that. Don't do it. It's too much. Like I said, only 3 to 6 minutes, 1 paragraph. Don't write loads. And then finally, just the command words. Explain. And 2. Explain 2. So explain 1 problem. I would say you've got to have your point. So your problem. Then explain. And then if you can, analyse. But that's only really going to be about 1 sentence, probably less. Analyse. So explain, have your point. 1 problem, Kaiser faced was this. Explain it, etc. Analyse. This was a short or long term. But a 4-marker, short, long term, probably not really going to need it. So yeah, 3 to 6 minutes, 1 paragraph. Don't write loads. Command words. Command words, explain in 2, then point, explain, analyse. So yeah, that's what we're looking for on a 4-mark question. So I'll quickly rub that out. So if let's look at this 4-marker in specific then, what can we possibly write for it? Well, 2 problems the Kaiser faced before 1914. Personally, I think this is probably one of the hardest 4-markers we're going to get on the Germany paper because Kaiser, no one seems to remember too much about the Kaiser. Part 2 and part 3 of the course, Weimar Republic and what's the other one? Nazis, of course. Everyone always remembers them loads. But Kaiser, no one really ever remembers too much about for some reason. And how we have problems. So yeah, it's, like I say, it's quite a hard question, but like I said, I'll run you through it. So what can we write about? 2 problems the Kaiser faced before 1914. Well, there's actually millions you could write about, quite frankly, but I'll go through the main ones. So first of all, Kulturkampf. I don't know how to spell that in German. Kulturkampf, the culture struggle. The culture struggle. Of course, Germany was unified in 1871. Trying to spell struggle. Germany was unified in 1871, and it faced many problems. The Kulturkampf was, of course, mainly it was Otto von Bismarck, so slightly sketchy getting that because, of course, depending on the examiner, you could get, if you start about Otto von Bismarck, you'll start losing marks. Of course, it's generally the Kaiser, but still faced the Kaiser. In Kulturkampf, Catholics and Protestants in those new territories Germany got, especially Alsace-Lorraine and Saxony, in the South German Confederation before 1871. Many Catholics and Protestants, of course, they weren't happy in Germany being living under the Kaiser, and the Kaiser faced problems with that. So there was a lot of religious tensions. What else could we talk about? Well, we could talk about probably the biggest thorn in the side of many emperors and Kaisers throughout Europe, the Kaiser, is the British Empire. Specifically, the naval arms race, 1906 naval arm race. But of course, the British had that idea of 2-to-1 ratio. This time it was Winston Churchill thought up the idea. So Britain always had to have at least 2 battleships, dreadnoughts, for every one Germany had. And not to mention the 2 largest navies combined thought of in 1700s, but that we won't get into that. So the British Empire was another threat Kaiser faced. And also you talk about East and Southwest Africa, border clashes, the British and Germans trying to squeeze each other out of the territory. Slightly going off topic here, we could talk about the Magi Rebellion of 1905 in German East Africa. The Kaiser sent lots of money and material to that. Area. So it was another problem he faced. More specifically and close to home, the SPD, Social Democratic Party. Of course, people were not happy living under the Kaiser at this point. People not happy, and socialists. Of course, Karl Marx is definitely starting to become a bit of a figurehead now. So those are just some of the things you could talk about. The SPD, politics, colonial ventures, and the Kulturkampf. Personally, for this 4 mark, I'm going to talk about the SPD and the naval arms race between Britain. I think those are probably the 2 best things that threaten the Kaiser's power. So let's get started. So, one problem the Kaiser faced was the SPD. So we've got our point there. One problem the Kaiser faced was the SPD. So now we need to explain. One problem the Kaiser faced was the SPD. This is because the SPD were gaining support, and people were openly turning against the Kaiser, specifically his autocratic rule. So now we've got our point, we've explained it slightly, we'll do a little bit of analysing, and then when we move on to our second point, I'll keep it in the same paragraph. So, specifically his autocratic rule. Go like this: because of Germany's late 19th century industrialization, more people were working in factories. More people were working in factories. This because of Germany's late 19th industrialization, more people working in factories and facing hard labour. Facing tougher jobs, not so good pay. Facing harder jobs, can't spell. Harder jobs with little pay. So they turned to the SPD. There we go. So we've got our point, we've explained it, and we've analysed it a bit, how that's going to affect the Kaiser's power. So next up, we'll talk about the 1906 naval arms race with Britain. So we'll put another problem the Kaiser faced before 1914. Those command words are very important. The Kaiser faced before 1914 was the naval arms race with Britain. There we are, I've got our point. So how do we explain that? In 1906, Germany rapidly started to increase its number of battleships to challenge Britain. Battleships to challenge Britain. However, by 1913, actually by 1913, Britain had 29 dreadnoughts, but Germany only had 17. Okay, so we're nearly done now. Look at that, we're not even writing that much at all, but only 1% now just to slightly analyse that, how that's going to challenge, have problems in Kaiser's power. This was a problem for the Kaiser. This was a problem for the Kaiser, as he wanted the idea of, he wanted the idea of Weltpolitik, which is simply world politics, domination. Again, looking back to the empires there on that little whiteboard. Kaiser wanted the idea of Weltpolitik, a global dominance that challenged Britain, And there we are. That is literally it. Not that much, just a paragraph. Like I said, we'll just little check through our points, see if we got those 4 marks. I think we probably did. One problem the Kaiser faced was the SPD. We've got a point there. This is because the SPD were gaining support, and people were openly turning against the Kaiser, specifically his autocratic rule. That's probably 1 or 2 marks just there. Because of Germany's late 19th century industrialisation, more people were working in factories and facing harder jobs with little pay. So they turned to the SPD. Definitely there, probably got 2 marks. Another problem the Kaiser faced before 1914 was the naval arms race with Britain. In 1906, Germany rapidly started to increase its number of battleships to challenge Britain. However, by 1913, Britain had 29 dreadnoughts, but Germany only had 17. This was a problem for the Kaiser, as they wanted the idea of Weltpolitik, a global dominance that challenged Britain. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in my next YouTube video. Goodbye.